Get what you need for an extended period of time while you can. Get it while it's at the store. Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Well, I would like this video to act as a notice or a warning to those of you that think that because supermarkets, grocery stores, department stores, etc. have been stocking up for this coming winter, that there will be no shortages on the shelves. I believe it is the opposite. There will still be shortages on the shelf. Why? Because this health crisis has embedded in a lot of people, if not most, that they need to stock up. So when they see things on the shelves that they can use and keep on their shelves in the pantry, in their cupboards, wherever, they're going to scoop it up, especially if they've gone without in the past. This article here says to prevent shortages, grocery chains, food brands prep for months ahead. Now, this is an article that you may read and think, oh, everything's going to be all right. They're all stocking up. Where here it says, remember March with its panic buying and pantry filling? Consumers' shopping habits at the outset of this health crisis provided grocers and food manufacturers with some unexpected lessons. Well, the lesson was that everyone emptied out the shelves, or at least those of us, or those people that were not prepared. And it continues to say, now 6 months after shoppers emptied shelves of toilet paper, disinfectant wipes, meat, frozen foods, and more, stores and suppliers are preparing for a fall and winter that will bring the usual holiday rush, but also the strong possibility of another surge of this health crisis. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if there is a second lockdown, and I think it's already started to happen in some states, people are going to empty the shelves. They've already learned. They learned once what happens when you're not prepared, and now they're going to empty the shelves again. Now, some people may not afford to be able to go buy and stock up, and therefore will be relying on family, charity, and or the government to provide for them. We should all learn from the past. I hear so much on the comments and emails that I get that families are still not on board. I hear people telling me, yes, my husband says that we don't need to stock up. Yes, my family thinks I'm crazy. It doesn't matter what they think. If you feed yourself and your family, if you depend on yourself and your family, immediate family, to eat, then you should be stocking up. All right, no matter what anyone says. This article continues on saying, we started talking about Thanksgiving in June. That's earlier than we ever have. Chris Testa, president of grocery wholesaler United Natural Foods Incorporated, told the Wall Street Journal. If you're reading articles like this that tell you that the shelves are going to be stocked, let's hope for the best, ladies and gentlemen, but let's prepare for the worst. Let's take a look at this article right here. It says, hey, guess what? Food shortages are coming back. Well, in some instances, the food shortages have never gone away. But what this article talks about are a few staple items that most Americans consume that look like they are going to be in short supply once again. And, in my opinion, still are in short supply. And we'll go over some of those. But this can give you some ideas as to what kinds of things to look for on the shelves, whether you need it or not. If you pass by the shelf and you see something that you use and you have, an ample supply at home, and you're like, wow, you know what? I can really use that. I have enough to last me a month or so, but this will last on the shelf for a year or 2 or 3 years. Maybe consider picking that up if you have the extra funds. One of the things that bothers me about a lot of the ads that I see that are pushing long-term food storage on people. Now, ladies and gentlemen, don't get me wrong. I'm all for people buying long-term food storage from a third party. All right, for example, Oxen Farms, Essentials. I'm affiliated with both of them to include Nutrient Survival. But I don't like when companies push this on you and pretty much tell you that there's no other alternatives. I saw an ad, I think it was yesterday, that said, you see these canned foods over here? These canned foods only have maybe a 1 year or 2 year at the most before they expire. As far as I'm concerned, that's someone lying to you. These people are in the business of food, and they themselves don't know that the USDA states in their own website that canned foods will last indefinitely unless the can itself or the packaging itself has been compromised. You can go look that up for yourselves. But here they are telling you that, hey, these canned foods, it's not good for you to get canned foods because they won't last as long as our foods. Like I said, I'm all for you getting long-term food storage if that's what you want. But I want you to get what you need so that you can get through any crisis that may fall ahead of where we are today. Last spring, when bags of flour and yeast suddenly became precious items. And that's a couple of things, ladies and gentlemen, that you can pick up that will last on the shelf for a long time. Even now, yeast is not very plentiful. The last time I made a Costco run, I think I saw maybe like 5 blocks of yeast on their shelf, and that was it. Remember those great early health crisis days last spring when bags of flour and yeast suddenly became precious items? That's another thing, ladies and gentlemen. If you're at the supermarket and you see flour or yeast and they're there in quantity, pick up an extra one. It won't hurt anything. Those are 2 items that will last a very long time and that give you a lot of different options on what to cook with them. You don't only cook or bake bread with flour. You can make dumplings. You can make crusts for pies. You can use it to thicken homemade soups. You can use it to make dough, to make pizza. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can do with flour. And yeast is a good companion to flour, especially when you're making your own breads. Okay? So if you see that on the shelves, pick up an extra one. If you can afford it, pick up an extra 1 or 2. It's not going to hurt anyone, and it's definitely not going to hurt you having it just in case it becomes unavailable in the future. If you think we're having a food crisis now, a food shortage crisis now, wait until it comes to the apex or the climax of that situation. When food shortages really affect you. I believe that we will still have some food on the shelf. However, we will not have the variety that we have now. We won't be looking at 27 different types of cereals. We won't be looking at 15 different brands of flour, all right, or other things. It will be condensed to a small amount of choices, and they're all going to probably be about the same, all right, as far as quality goes. The quality is also going to go down. Those small amount of choices that we're going to have in the future are going to come at a much higher price. So part of the food shortage is not only going to be that we won't have the supply, but that it will be too expensive for people to purchase. So if you have the funds now, purchase the things you need now. Baking supplies. It's now chilly enough to turn the oven on again, plus the specter of holiday baking looms. Ladies and gentlemen, you all know, if you've been following my channel a while, that I don't bake during the summer for 2 reasons. First one is because we're pretty busy around here during the summer months or during the non-winter months, and that it heats up the house an awful lot. Usually when it starts getting cooler and the snow starts to fall, we finish up whatever bread we have in the fridge that we purchased from the store, and I start baking bread because I really enjoy doing so. So there is some truth in that statement there. Canned soups, both General Mills and Campbell's, are still behind in production after the increased demand during the first wave of this health crisis. Officials say they hope to be back to full capacity again in January. But just in case, maybe try making your own soups. The next couple of items I don't really consider to be necessities, but soda pop will be in shortage because of the aluminum cans shortage that we're having. And also, potato chips like Frito-Lay, Pepperidge Farms, other snacks like that don't really have that much nutritional value. Those 2 things I don't find to be a very big deal. If you're an addict of any of those two things, then stock up. There's nothing wrong with it. We're not here to judge, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone has their vices. I stock up on a whole bunch of coffee. Why? Because I really enjoy my coffee and I'm kind of grouchy without it. All right. So if you're addicted to caffeine in the form of soda, go ahead and stock up a few cases. Same thing with snacks, right, that you have. It's always nice to have some snacks set aside because it does boost up morale. So pick up some extra snacks if you can afford it, if you want to. This one here kind of took me by surprise. Spam. Hormel CEO Jim Snee reported that the company has 24% less inventory of all its products than it did at this time last year. And a production may be slowed again if there are any more cases of this health crisis amongst their workers. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I've been harping for months, heck, for years, get what you need for an extended period of time while you can. Get it while it's at the store. Don't worry about what someone says, whether they get angry at you, whether they are critical of you. Don't worry about them. Because if they're not in charge of feeding you, then their words should fall on deaf ears. All right? You shouldn't even hear their words when they're trying to condemn you for hoarding, right? Because that's what you're doing. You're a hoarder. Yeah, right? You should be ashamed of yourself, you hoarder. All right? If they're trying to condemn you because they say you're hoarding, when in fact what you're doing is protecting your family and giving yourselves more options during times of crises, then that's okay. Let them think what they want, but don't let that affect how you act. So I hope that you guys take this message to heart. At the very least, think about it. And if you are not prepping, this is the time right now to be prepared. This health crisis that's going on is not all that's going on. There are several factors at play that will threaten and are threatening our food security. And food shortages will be coming. Not because I say so and not because I want it to happen, but because everything that I see and everything that's around you that you can see if you only looked say so. There's too much information out there that's pointing to the fact that we will be going into a major food shortage crisis. If not this year, if not next year, I'll tell you what, when it hits hard, it's going to hit hard. So I hope that you are preparing. I'm not trying to scare you. Even if you're on a fixed income or a low budget, you can prepare. I hope to the good Lord that it won't hit hard, as I'm saying, for another 2 or 3 years. But you just never know. But if it doesn't, great. It just gives us more time to prepare. Especially for those of you that just started. Go out there, buy something extra that you can stick in the back of your pantry and save for a rainy day. Because the rain is coming, ladies and gentlemen. It truly is. Having said that, I hope you got something out of this. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm the Alaska Prepper. I'm out.